Most people think investing is something you start later, when you have more money, when life calms down, when you finally feel ready. So they wait. A year turns into two, two turns into five, and somewhere in the middle of all that waiting, a decade just disappears. Here's the thing nobody tells you. It's not about how much you invest. It's not even about what you invest in. It's about one simple habit, showing up every single month, even when it feels like nothing is happening. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works. What's up, guys? My name is Ricky. I wasted most of my 20s avoiding this stuff. Thought I'd figure it out later. Then one night, I actually ran the numbers and realized I had already cost myself six figures just by waiting. So now I'm kind of obsessed with making sure you don't do the same thing. If that sounds like your situation, hit subscribe. This channel is for you. Look, I want to talk to you like a real person for a second, because I know what it feels like to open your banking app at the end of the month and just stare at it. You worked the whole month, you showed up, you did everything right, and somehow there's barely anything left over. So the idea of investing, of putting money away every single month, it feels like a joke, like something people on TV talk about, not something for you. And here's what makes it worse. Everywhere you look, people are talking about the stock market like it's some complicated machine that only smart people understand. You hear words like portfolio diversification and compound returns, and your brain just shuts off. Yeah, I've been there. So you do what most people do. You tell yourself you'll figure it out later, when you make more money, when things calm down, when you finally have time to sit down and learn it properly. But here's what nobody warns you about. Later is the most expensive word in personal finance. Every month you wait, you're not just losing money, you're losing time. And time is the one thing you cannot buy back. A recent survey found that 57% of Americans feel significantly behind on retirement savings. Not a little behind, significantly. And the number one reason they give? They started too late. Not because they were bad with money, not because they didn't earn enough, but because they kept waiting for the perfect moment to begin, and that moment never came. Okay, so here's where I need to challenge something you probably believe. Most people think to build serious wealth, you need serious money up front. Like you need to drop $10,000 into the market right now or it's not even worth trying. That is just not true, and I can prove it with simple math. Here's what most people don't realize. The market doesn't reward the person with the most money. It rewards the person who shows up the longest. There's a concept called compound growth, and I know you've heard that word before, but I don't think most people actually feel what it means. So let me put it differently. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's tiny, barely picking anything up. You look at it and think, that's doing nothing. But the longer it rolls, the more snow it collects, and the more snow it collects, the faster it grows, until eventually that little snowball becomes something you cannot even stop. That is your money, if you let it roll long enough. Now, you might be thinking, Ricky, I only have like $200 a month to spare. That's not going to do anything. And that, right there, is the belief that's costing you everything. Because $200 a month invested consistently over 10 years at roughly the historical average return of the S&P 500 grows to around $38,000. But here's the part that gets really interesting. You only put in $24,000 of your own money. That other $14,000, that came from doing absolutely nothing. Just time. Just showing up month after month. So let's slow down and actually walk through how this works. Every month you invest $200. That money goes into the market. At the end of the year, it grew. And next year, you're not just earning returns on your contributions, you're earning returns on your returns. That is the whole game, right there, in one sentence. Here's the thing people miss, though. The growth isn't steady. It doesn't go up the same amount every year. It accelerates. Year 1, 2, and 3, honestly, you won't feel it. The numbers look small, kind of disappointing. Year 1, with $200 a month, you end up with around $2,500. You put in $2,400, so you made about $100 extra. And you're thinking, I did all that for $100? Stay with me. By year 5, your total is around $15,000. You put in $12,000.
so the market added 3,000 on top. By year 10, you've got roughly $38,000. You put in 24,000, the market handed you over 14,000 just for staying in the game. By year 20, without changing anything, that same $200 a month becomes around $152,000. You put in 48,000, the market gave you over $100,000. Now here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Every year you delay starting doesn't cost you 1 year of growth. It costs you the compounded growth of everything that money would have become. Waiting 5 years to start sets you back far more than 5 years. Let me bring this to life with 2 people. Let's call them Marcus and Diana. Marcus is 25. He starts investing $300 a month right now. He's not rich, nothing fancy, just $300 a month into a basic index fund. He does this for 10 years. Then life gets busy. He stops at 35. But he leaves all the money in the market and never touches it. Diana is 35. She spent her 20s living life, traveling, not thinking about money. Now she's serious. She starts investing $300 a month at 35 and keeps going all the way until she's 65. 30 full years of contributions. Now, who do you think has more money at 65? Diana, right? She invested for 30 years. Marcus only did 10. Here's what actually happens. Marcus, who only invested for 10 years in his 20s and then completely stopped, ends up with approximately $1.1 million at 65. Diana, who invested for 3 times as long, ends up with around $678,000. Yeah, I know, that one hurts a little. But this is exactly how it works. Marcus gave his money an extra decade in his 20s, the most valuable decade of all. Diana did everything right by most people's standards. She just started 10 years too late. Now look, some of you watching this video are in your 30s or 40s right now, and you're thinking, okay, Ricky, great story, but what about me? Meet Jordan. Jordan is 38, starts from zero, puts in $500 a month into a diversified index fund, and stays consistent until age 65. That's 27 years. At typical market growth rates, Jordan ends up with approximately $700,000. Not $1 million, but $700,000 from $500 a month starting at 38. Here's what most people don't realize. It is never too late to build something meaningful. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And yes, that sounds like something on a motivational poster. But it is also just mathematically accurate. Every single month you put in is a month working for you decades from now. Okay, so I just showed you the math. You saw what Marcus did, you saw what's possible. And I guarantee right now part of your brain is saying, okay, I need to start doing this. And another part of your brain is already thinking about why next month is a better time to begin. That second voice, that is the real enemy. Not the market, not your income, your brain. Here's the thing. We are not wired for this. Our brains evolved to solve problems right in front of us. Hunger, danger, immediate threats, not problems 30 years away that we can't see or feel. So when you're deciding whether to invest $200 or use it for something fun this weekend, the weekend wins almost every time because it feels real. The $200,000 in 30 years feels like a number on a spreadsheet. This is called present bias, and it affects almost every financial decision we make. The people who actually build wealth figured out one thing. They made it automatic. Set up a transfer on payday. The money moves before you ever see it, before your brain gets a vote. You invest every month without thinking about it. That one habit is worth more than any stock tip you'll ever hear. Here's the mindset shift that actually changes everything. Stop thinking of investing as something you do when you have extra money. Start thinking of it as a bill you pay yourself first, before rent, before groceries, before everything else. What does that actually look like? You get paid on the first of the month, before your rent clears, before you open DoorDash, $200 moves into your investment account. Gone. And here's the weird part. You don't miss it, because your brain adjusts. You start living on what's available. Humans are remarkably good at that. The people who build real wealth over 10, 20, 30 years, they didn't have perfect lives. They had job losses, emergencies, really hard months, but they protected the habit. because they understood something most people never figure out. Wealth isn't built in the good months, it's protected in the hard ones. The month you're stressed and tired and you think, I'll skip this month. That is the most important month to stay in.
Because skipping once makes skipping twice feel easy. And then a year goes by, and then 5. The habit is everything. The amount comes later, but the habit has to come first. All right, let's bring it all together, because I want you to leave this video with something you can actually use. 1. Time beats money. Investing $200 a month starting now will outperform $500 a month starting 10 years from now. Showing up consistently over time is the most powerful force in personal finance. Not picking the right stock, not timing the market, just staying in the game. 2. Compound growth is slow, then shocking. The first few years feel like nothing. Year 8, 9, 10, it accelerates in ways that feel almost unreal. Do not quit during the boring years. That is where the foundation is being built. 3. The market has historically returned around 10% annually over the long term. That is not a guarantee. Markets go up and down. But over 10+ years, the trend has always recovered and grown. Stay invested through the dips. 4. Automation is your most powerful tool. Set up an automatic transfer on payday before you see the money. Remove the decision entirely. Your future self will thank you in ways your current self cannot even imagine. And 5. Starting small today is infinitely better than waiting. $100 a month, $50 a month, whatever you can do right now. Get the habit in place. Build from there. The number is not the point. The habit is the point. Because 10 years from now, you are going to look back at this moment and you are either going to feel grateful that you started or frustrated that you waited. The only difference between those two feelings is a decision you make today.
Look, I know this stuff can feel overwhelming. I know the numbers feel far away and the sacrifices feel very real right now. But before you close this video, I want you to think about just one thing. What would it mean to you to have $150,000,
$300,000, $500,000 sitting there in 15 or 20 years? Not because you got lucky, not because you picked the right stock, but because you made one small decision and you protected it month after month. That version of your future is real. It is built 1 month at a time. If this opened your eyes even a little bit, drop a comment below and tell me where you're starting from. I read every single one. And if you want to learn how to actually set up your first investment account step by step, that video is right here. See you in the next one.